We're here to discuss whether the Louisiana Purchase was constitutional or not.
That is true. So what is your stance on this debate?
I believe that the Louisiana Purchase was unconstitutional.
Why? For what reasons do you believe that it is
Well,
unconstitutional?
primarily, nowhere in the Constitution, in any of these articles, does it give the president the right to make purchases of land without Congress's consent.
That is true. However, if you interpret the Constitution loosely, would you take a
Loosely,
Would you take a look at
but Jefferson himself doesn't interpret the Constitution loosely.
That is true, but sometimes when you're acting in the best interest of your country, you
So
have
you
to
believe
interpret.
Jefferson? So you believe Jefferson was acting in his best?
I
in the
do
best
believe
interest
he
of-
was acting in the
Can
best
you
interest.
explain why?
Well, for the first part, he by buying the Louisiana Purchase from France, we got a lot of land, which almost doubled the size of our country. It allowed for trade through the Mississippi or with the native Indians. The fur trade was a big thing, and then there are more natural resources on there. So, I mean, it shaped the kind of, America that we have today.
Efficient, don't you think that this would, perhaps for the northern states who are now being outnumbered by the extra land, who have different interests, don't you think there'd also be dissent there between the north and the south because of this purchase?
Well, the land that they gained was for a lot of people. It was for expansion. It did allow for more agricultural-based economy. There's a lot of land and such, but that's for the benefit of everyone. It's not only for the benefit of self. Everybody benefits from getting the land for more agricultural reasons and such. So,
I do want to say, so you say that it was constitutional because he was acting in the best interest of the country?
That, and I would just now want to go into some of these articles that if you loosely interpret it.
I want to flip to the end of Article 1, Section 10, where Article 2, Section 1, where Jefferson states, where you read his oath, and it says, "I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States." So his job is to protect the Constitution, not necessarily the American people.
Since when is it against the Constitution to act in the best interests of your country?
But is it in the Constitution to do what he did?
Yes.
No, it's not.
If you lose... Okay. Turn to page Article 2, Section 2, please. Okay. So, we see the second paragraph. He shall have the power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. Now, although it says that it needs the consent of the Senate, he doesn't need it. It doesn't say when he needs it. He can get it before.
Okay, that
He
is
can get
true.
it after.
So what I want to argue is not whether what he did was right, but the very action of what he did, which was making this action where that's not in the Constitution before talking to Congress, is clearly just because Congress passed this doesn't mean that it was in his powers to do it. Like, what if Congress had said no? Then we'd be in a sticky situation.
We would be in a sticky situation, but we're not talking about what we would be in.
Yeah,
we're talking about what happened. And what
isn't
happened was that they passed a Constitution. It passed it.
Yeah, but isn't this indicative of a future problem in which even Jefferson, who is so for the Constitution, so for like straight Constitution, no wiggle room, if even he can flip and just decide, oh, I'm going to do this without Congress's consent, doesn't that mean in the future that we could be heading towards a dictatorship that models the British that we try to escape from?
What I would say to that is, throughout history, there are times in which people have to bend the rules. I'm not saying that the Louisiana Purchase wasn't unconstitutional. I'm just saying that there's a gray area.
So you're saying that it was unconstitutional, but that it was worth it?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a gray area on what's allowed and what's not allowed. And sometimes, like in Article 2, Section 2, it states that, yes, it needs the consent of the Senate, but it doesn't tell us when. He got the consent from the Senate after the purchase, so it still makes it constitutional.
Okay, but see, that goes back to my point where he was lucky. Well, not lucky, but in a sense, he was lucky that Congress did pass this, because I think immediately after Jefferson decided to make this purchase, he knew he had made at least some form of mistake, because he said that if Congress didn't pass it, he would step down as president. So clearly, he was not only was he afraid that Congress wouldn't say yes, but he knew that if Congress didn't say yes, that would be a major problem, and this could happen in the future if we allow this to happen.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that that speculation. I wouldn't say that there are many facts to back that up. He was just trying to make I assume he was just trying to make a statement that this was for the betterment of the country, and that he decided that a constitution allowed him to make said purchase.
But the Constitution did not.
It did.
It also says in Article 1, Section 8, that Congress has the powers to declare war and to make rules concerning captures on land and water.
They are also allowed to regulate commerce with foreign nations.
Exactly.
However,
Congress is able to.
Would you rather have had a war with the French
We don't necessarily
over
have to
capturing Louisiana, which we wanted to do, or would you have bought the land and then have it passed by Congress, which makes it constitutional?
This goes back to the point where we're not arguing over whether this was the right call. We're
might-
arguing whether this was constitutional or not. And I
It-
believe that because it's not in the Constitution, because of all the rights that are reserved for Congress,
It might
because
have been unconstitutional before Congress passed it, but as soon as Congress decided to pass the bill, it became constitutional.
but that doesn't change the fact that Jefferson's actions preceding Congress's approval were unconstitutional, and thus he acted in a way that defies the Constitution. And if we allow him to do this, then in the future, who knows what leaders could think